My name is Courtney Clark. I was 18 years old when my life changed forever, and the night everything fell apart started with one cold, cruel sentence. My older sister locked the door right in my face. She stood there behind the glass, turning the deadbolt slowly, a twisted smile on her lips. "You'll be begging to come back in 3 days," she said, her voice dripping with venom. My dad didn't say a word at first. He just grabbed my stuff. My suitcase, my shoeboxes, my laptop, and started hurling it out onto the wet front lawn. One by one. Hard. Like he couldn't get rid of it fast enough. My mom stood in the hallway behind them, silent, not moving, not stopping any of it. I remember the rain starting to fall light at first, soaking into my clothes as I scrambled to shove whatever I could into an old backpack. The porch light flicked off. The door slammed shut. And that was it. I turned and walked down the dark street in Bellevue, the sound of that lock clicking still echoing in my head. I didn't look back. I swore I never would. 9 years later, my phone lit up on the studio table like it was on fire. 88 missed calls, 26 text messages, all from the same house line I'd blocked years ago. Before I tell you what really happened that night and why, after all this time, they're the ones begging me to drop a comment below. What time is it where you're watching this right now, and where are you from? I want to know how far this story travels. That night, as I walked down the wet streets of Bellevue with just a backpack, the whole fight replayed in my head over and over. It all started earlier that day. I'd just gotten the letter. Thick envelope, fancy seal. Full ride scholarship to one of the top musical theater programs in Seattle. I was shaking when I opened it. For the first time in my life, something big was finally mine. I ran home, bursting through the door, waving that letter like it was gold. My older sister Marissa was already in the living room going over paperwork for the family real estate business. She's 10 years older, always been the golden child. Dad built that company from nothing, and ever since I can remember, everything revolved around preparing Marissa to take over one day. Family dinners were about her deals, her ideas, her future. I was just there. I handed her the letter first, stupidly thinking she'd be proud. She scanned it, smirked, and let out this sharp little laugh. "Musical theater," she said, dragging the words out like they tasted bad. "Singing and dancing on stage. That's not a career, Courtney. That's a hobby for kids who don't know what the real world costs." I felt my face get hot, but I tried to stay calm. "It's a full scholarship, Marissa. I got in. This is real." She tossed the letter onto the coffee table like it was junk mail. "Real. You think prancing around in costumes is going to pay bills? Dad didn't work his ass off building this company so his youngest could run off to play pretend. Right on cue, my dad." Stephen walked in from the garage. He'd heard the tail end. I turned to him, holding the letter out again. "Dad, look. I got accepted. Full ride." He didn't even take it. Just glanced at the header and shook his head. "We talked about this, Courtney. You're going to the local university. Business program. You'll work with Marissa, learn the company from the ground up. That's the plan." I couldn't believe it. "That's your plan, not mine. I've been singing since I was 6. This is what I've worked for." He stepped closer, voice getting louder. "What you've worked for. We paid for every voice lesson, every summer theater camp. And now you want to throw it all away for some pipe dream. This family has a legacy. Marissa's ready to carry it. You don't get to walk away from that." Marissa folded her arms, watching with this smug look like she was enjoying the show. My mom, Deborah, sat on the couch the whole time, staring at her phone, saying nothing. She always did that, stayed quiet whenever Dad and Marissa teamed up. Growing up, it was clear who mattered more. Marissa got the new car at 16. I got her hand-me-down. Marissa got praised for good grades. I got "that's nice" if I even mentioned mine. They never missed one of Marissa's award ceremonies, but skipped every school play I was in because work was busy. I stood there clutching that letter tighter. I'm not throwing anything away. This scholarship doesn't cost you a cent. I can do this on my own. Dad's face went dark. On your own. You think you're ready for that? Fine. You want to choose some fantasy over family, then do it without us. I thought he was bluffing. He'd threatened stuff before. But then he pointed at the door. Pack a bag. You're out. No money. No car. No coming back until you drop this nonsense and enroll where we told you. My heart was pounding so hard I could barely hear. You're serious? Marissa stood up, already moving toward the front door. Dead serious, she said, voice ice cold. I ran upstairs, threw clothes into a bag, grabbed my laptop and charger. When I came back down, Dad was waiting at the bottom of the stairs. He snatched the suitcase I'd had since middle school, the one they'd bought for Marissa first, and started walking to the door. Marissa got there first. She opened it, stepped aside, and waited for me to pass. The second I crossed the threshold, she closed the door behind me, turned the deadbolt with a slow, deliberate click, and looked straight at me through the glass panel. Her mouth curved into that same twisted smile from earlier. Dad didn't hesitate. He opened the door again just long enough to start throwing my stuff out. Suitcase, books, everything I owned that wasn't in my backpack, right onto the grass. No words. Just force. Mom still hadn't moved from the couch. I stood on the porch for a second, waiting for someone to stop it, to call it off, to say they didn't mean it. Nothing. The door stayed shut. The lock stayed turned. That was the moment I realized they'd always chosen Marissa. And now they were done pretending I mattered at all. A few days later, I was crashing on a friend's couch, trying to figure out how to survive. I'd managed to talk my way into a temporary dorm spot at school. Nothing official, just a roommate who felt bad and let me sleep on the floor for a week. My savings were pathetic. After paying the deposit for classes, I had maybe $300 left. Rent wasn't an option. Food was barely an option. So I did what any broke 18-year-old would do. I walked into every cafe and restaurant within a mile of campus until one finally hired me. Late-night diner shifts, the kind that end at 3 a.m. and leave your feet throbbing. Smelled like grease and burnt coffee. Tips were okay if you smiled enough, but most nights I was too exhausted to fake it. The first few weeks were a blur of exhaustion. I'd drag myself to morning classes, voice technique, movement, script analysis, still in yesterday's clothes, then head straight to work. My legs felt like lead. Blisters turned into calluses. I lived on free shift meals and whatever protein bars I could afford. Sleep came in short bursts, never enough. But the second I stepped into the theater building, something shifted. No one there cared where I came from or what I didn't have. They only cared if I could hit the note, nail the 8 count, bring the scene to life. For the first time, I wasn't the extra kid in the family. I was just Courtney, and that was enough. That's where I met Tyler Grant. He was in my vocal performance class, messy dark curls, always carrying this beat-up acoustic guitar slung over one shoulder like it was part of him. He had this quiet intensity eyes that actually listened when you talked. One day after rehearsal, we ended up grabbing terrible vending machine coffee together in the lobby. I don't know why I opened up. Maybe because he asked how I was holding up, and it didn't sound like small talk. Maybe because I was running on fumes and my guard was down. But I told him. Not everything, just the short version. Kicked out. Cut off. Starting from zero. He didn't do the pity face, didn't say that sucks and change the subject. He just nodded slow, like he was taking it in. Then he said, "You should write about it. Real pain makes real music. Trust me, the stuff that hurts the most is usually the stuff people connect to hardest." I laughed it off at first. I'd written little melodies before, sure, but nothing serious. Nothing raw. But that night, back on the dorm floor with borrowed headphones, I opened the voice memo app on my phone and started humming. Just fragments. A melody that felt like a door slamming. Words about walls going up and keys turning. Over the next couple weeks, it grew. I'd scribble lyrics on break at work between taking orders. I'd sneak into empty practice rooms at school and record rough takes on my cracked screen phone. The song wasn't long, 3 minutes tops, but it was honest. I called it something simple, nothing fancy. One night, after a brutal double shift, I sat on the fire escape outside the dorm, filmed a quick vertical video, just me and the guitar Tyler had let me borrow. City lights blurry in the background, and uploaded it to TikTok and SoundCloud before I could overthink it. I didn't expect much, maybe a few likes from classmates. But by morning, it had a couple hundred plays, then 1,000. Comments started rolling in. Not the usual Slay Queen stuff. Real ones. This hit me in the chest. I felt this in my bones. My parents did the same thing. Thank you for saying it out loud. Strangers, people I'd never met telling me they got it. That they'd been there. That the song made them feel seen. I sat there reading them, phone in my shaking hands, and for the first time since that door locked behind me, I didn't feel completely alone. A few months later, that first song started getting some attention around school. People in my classes kept coming up to me in the halls. Hey, are you the one who posted that locked door song on TikTok? At first, it was just a few shares in the theater department. Then it spread to other students in Seattle. Plays jumped from hundreds to a couple thousand overnight. Comments poured in, more of the same raw stuff. People tagging friends who'd gone through similar family blow-ups. Someone even duetted it with their own story. The questions started getting bolder. Is this about your actual family? Did that really happen to you? I never answered directly online, just hearted the comments that hit close and kept posting rehearsal clips. But word was traveling fast in local circles. That's how Marissa found out. A mutual acquaintance from Bellevue, someone who still followed both of us, sent her the link. She called me once, left a voicemail I deleted without listening. Then, nothing for a week. I should have known that silence wasn't surrender. The open mic night was packed. Small black box theater on campus, maybe 100 seats, standing room only. I'd signed up to perform the song live for the first time. Tyler was in the front row, guitar ready in case I needed backup. The crowd was warm, mostly students, a few locals. I stepped up under the single spotlight, heart racing in a good way. Halfway through the second verse, I saw her. Marissa pushed through the side door, heels clicking loud on the wood floor. She was dressed like she'd come straight from a client meeting, blazer, perfect hair, face tight with fury. People turned to look. She didn't stop at a seat. She walked straight to the edge of the stage. I kept singing, trying to ignore her. But she waited until the bridge, then climbed the 3 steps onto the platform like she owned the place. Before security even noticed, she reached out and yanked the microphone from my hand. The room went dead quiet except for the feedback squeal. "You're up here lying about our family to a room full of strangers for attention," she said into the mic, voice sharp enough to cut glass. "Making us look like monsters because you didn't get your way. This is pathetic, Courtney." My stomach dropped. I stood there, frozen for a second, spotlights burning hot on my face. The crowd murmured shock, awkward laughs, phones coming out. I reached for the mic. "Give it back. This isn't your stage." She held it higher, out of reach. "Oh, now you want to talk about what's mine. You think you can trash our name online and play victim? Dad built everything from nothing, and you're out here acting like we ruined your life because we wouldn't bankroll some delusional Broadway fantasy." Someone in the audience yelled, "Let her sing." A few others booed. Phones were up everywhere now, red recording lights blinking like stars. I stepped closer, voice low but steady. "You locked me out. You made your choice. Now I'm telling my story. Deal with it." Her eyes flashed. "Your story. You're twisting everything for likes. You have no idea what real responsibility looks like." That's when campus security finally moved. 2 guys in polo shirts came up the steps fast. "Ma'am, you need to step down. Now." Marissa tried to argue. This is a family matter, but they weren't having it. One took the mic from her hand while the other guided her firmly off stage and toward the exit. She shot me one last venomous look before the door swung shut behind her. The room erupted. Some applause, some gasps, a few whistles. I stood there under the lights, adrenaline shaking through me. Tyler jumped up, handed me his spare mic from the floor. "Finish it," he mouthed. I did. Voice cracked once, but I finished the song. The applause afterward felt different, louder, angrier, protective. By morning, the videos were everywhere. Multiple angles, clear audio. Open Mic Meltdown trended locally on TikTok within hours. 10,000 views. 20. 50. People in the comments weren't confused anymore. That's her real sister. No way. Bellevue real estate family. I think I know who this is. Girl got publicly dragged for telling her truth. Team Courtney. Someone dug up the company website Clark Properties, small but established in Bellevue. Reviews started popping up. Questions in local Facebook groups. Whispers at coffee shops and open houses. The story wasn't just mine anymore. It was out there, forcing its way into places I never could have reached alone. After that video went around, things got uglier. A week later, I got an email from the financial aid office. Subject line: innocent enough. Update on your scholarship status. I opened it in the library between classes, thinking it was routine paperwork. It wasn't. The remaining need-based aid, the part that covered books and housing stipends, had been revoked. Reason cited sponsor withdrawal. Someone with access to my file had called in, claimed to be a family member, and pulled the funding. There was only one family I had, and they'd already made their position clear. I marched straight to the office. The advisor looked uncomfortable, flipping through papers. "We received a call from a woman identifying herself as your guardian. She said the family no longer wished to support your enrollment here." Guardian, at 18. They were still trying to control the narrative like I was a minor they could reel back in. Tuition for the next semester was due in a month. Without that aid, I was short thousands. I picked up extra shifts at the diner, begged for advances on tips, even looked into emergency loans. But the hole was too deep. For the first time since starting school, I thought I might actually have to drop out. Then came the first paid gig I'd ever booked. A small venue downtown, nothing fancy, maybe 50 seats. Local opener slot for an indie act passing through Seattle. I'd put down a deposit on sound equipment rental out of my own pocket, hyped it on socials. Tyler helped me rehearse for weeks. It was supposed to be my real debut. The night arrived. Crowd trickled in. Lights dimmed. I walked on stage, guitar strapped on, ready to open with the song everyone knew. 10 minutes in middle of the second chorus, the power cut. Everything went black. Monitors died. Amp feedback screeched, then nothing. Emergency lights kicked on, but the main board stayed dead. The venue manager ran around backstage, cursing. Someone had tripped the breaker and yanked cables clean out of the wall. Not an accident, the cuts were clean, deliberate. The show got canceled. Audience grumbled, asked for refunds. I had to pay the headliner their guarantee anyway. Deposit gone. Extra costs for damaged rental gear. Suddenly, I was in debt, real debt, for the first time. I sat in the empty venue afterward, head in my hands, while staff cleaned up. Tyler stayed packing chords in silence. When everyone else left, he sat next to me on the edge of the stage. "They did this," I said, voice flat. "Didn't they?" He didn't sugarcoat it. "Looks like it. Professional enough to not get caught, but sloppy enough to send a message." I laughed, bitter. Message received. "They're not stopping at words anymore." Tyler bumped my shoulder. "So don't stop either. Use it. Every dirty trick, every low blow, put it in the music. Make it undeniable." I went home that night to the tiny studio apartment I'd finally scraped together rent for and opened my notebook. The page was blank, but my head wasn't. I wrote until dawn. New verses about sabotage, about invisible hands pulling strings from afar. Lines that burned coming out. The anger wasn't just fuel anymore. It was structure, melody, hook. Every time I thought about quitting, I heard that breaker flip in my head and kept going. They wanted to silence me. Instead, they handed me the loudest material I'd ever have. Over the next year, I poured everything into one song. I took every scar they'd left and turned it into lyrics. Every verse built on the last the night they locked me out. The sabotage, the attempts to pull funding and kill my momentum before it started. I named it Locked Out. No subtlety, no metaphor to hide behind. Just the truth, raw and unfiltered, set to a melody that started soft and built into something unstoppable. I recorded demos in empty practice rooms, layered vocals until my throat was raw, worked with a cheap producer I found online who believed in the track enough to cut me a deal. Every spare dollar from shifts went into studio time. I wasn't sleeping much, didn't need to. The song was keeping me awake anyway. By the time it was finished, I had label interest, small indie ones at first sending emails asking for meetings. The track was scheduled for official release in a month. Pre-save links were live. Momentum was building. That's when Marissa reached out. Not a call, a text. Short. Neutral. Can we talk coffee? Old place in Bellevue. Please. I stared at the message for a day before replying. Part of me wanted to ignore it, but another part, the part that still remembered her as my sister, wanted to see how far this had gone for her. We met at the same corner cafe we used to go to as kids. Neutral ground. She was already there when I walked in, sitting at a window table, coffee untouched. She looked different. Hair pulled back tight, darker circles under her eyes, blazer a little looser than it used to be. She stood when I approached. Courtney. I didn't hug her, didn't smile, just sat down across from her. She got straight to it. I heard the new song, the full version. Someone sent it to me. I stayed quiet. It's everything. All of it. Out there. Her voice was low, careful. If this comes out officially, it's over for us. Clients are already pulling back because of the rumors. Dad's stressed sick. The company can't take another hit like this. I sipped the coffee I'd ordered. Black. No sugar. And she leaned forward. Pull it. Don't release it. I'll pay whatever you owe school, the canceled show, everything. We'll cover it all. Just make it go away. I set the cup down slow. You think money fixes this? It's not about fixing. It's about surviving. You're about to destroy everything Dad worked for. Everything I've been holding together. I met her eyes. You destroyed what I worked for first. That night, you turned the lock and smiled while he threw my life onto the lawn. You don't get to play victim now. Her hands trembled around her cup. I was trying to protect the family. You were protecting your inheritance, your image, not me. She swallowed hard. We were wrong. Okay, I know that now. People are talking. Clients are leaving. If this song drops with a label behind it, it's national. We won't recover. A tear slipped down her cheek. She didn't wipe it away. Please, Courtney, I'm begging you. For Mom, for Dad's health. Withdraw the single. We'll make it right. I stood up. Chair scraped loud against the tile. You made your choice that night, I said, voice steady. Now live with it. She reached out like she wanted to grab my arm, but I stepped back. Courtney. I didn't wait for the rest. Turned and walked out. Door chimed behind me. Didn't look back. Outside, the air felt cleaner. I pulled out my phone, checked the pre-save numbers climbing. The release date was still set. They wanted silence. I was about to give them the opposite. 2 years after that coffee shop meeting, Locked Out finally dropped. It didn't creep up. It exploded. Within days, it was everywhere. TikTok sounds, Spotify playlists, radio spins in multiple markets, millions of streams. The story behind it spread just as fast. Interviews, articles, podcasts wanting the full breakdown. I signed with a major independent label the same month. Real budget, real distribution, Real tour dates. The first headlining show sold out in hours. A historic venue in downtown Seattle, 2,000 seats, balconies packed. Fans flew in from other states. Signs in the crowd. Phones ready. Backstage was chaos in the best way, crew running final checks, opener wrapping up. I was in wardrobe doing vocal warm-ups when security knocked. Your father and sister are here. They say it's urgent. Family emergency. I froze for a second. Then told them to bring the pair to the green room. Not because I wanted reconciliation, because I wanted to see their faces one last time before I walked on stage. They looked smaller than I remembered. Steven's hair grayer suit rumpled. Marissa in jeans and a hoodie, no makeup, eyes red like she hadn't slept. Security stood by the door. Steven spoke first, voice cracking. Courtney, please. We need to talk. Just 5 minutes. I crossed my arms. You've got to. Marissa stepped forward. The song, it's everywhere. Clients are canceling listings left and right. Big developers pulling out. We're hemorrhaging money. Dad's blood pressure is through the roof. The stress is killing him. Steven nodded. We were wrong. About everything. We're sorry. Truly. If you could just say something publicly. Clarify it was exaggerated. Or family issues blown out of proportion. Anything. We're begging you. I looked at them both. Really looked. The people who'd once held all the power. You want me to lie for you now? My voice was calm. After everything you did to shut me up, Marissa's chin trembled. We're losing the business. The house is on the line. Please. I glanced at the clock. Showtime in 10. You lost it the night you chose image over me. Enjoy the consequences. Security moved in, escorted them out. No scene, no yelling. Just the door closing quiet behind them. I walked on stage to roaring applause. Lights hit. Band kicked in. The set flew, new tracks, covers, crowd favorites. Saved, locked out for the encore. When I started it, the arena sang every word back to me. 2,000 voices louder than the monitors. Phones up like a sea of stars. I closed my eyes for the bridge, let it wash over me. Mid-song, the host from the local music awards rushed on stage with an envelope. Surprise presentation. We couldn't wait until next month, he said into the mic. Breakthrough Artist of the Year, Courtney Clark. The place erupted again. Trophy in my hands, confetti falling. I thanked the crowd, the label, the fans who shared their own stories. Backstage later, my manager handed me his phone. Trending searches, Clark Properties scandal. Reviews flooding in, old clients posting about troubled family dynamics. Major listings pulled. Stock photos of their office with for lease signs already circulating. The fallout was immediate, brutal, public. Their world cracked the same night mine fully opened. 9 years after that night, I walked away from the house in Bellevue. I was 27 and sitting in my own studio downtown. Walls lined with platinum records, tour posters framed, a view of the city I'd fought to claim. Life wasn't perfect, tours were brutal, press was relentless, but it was mine. Built note by note, show by show, without a single dime from the people who once controlled everything. My phone sat on the mixing board face down. Then it started. Vibrated once, twice. Kept going until the screen lit up like a seizure. I flipped it over. 88 missed calls, 26 text messages, all from the old landline, the one I hadn't heard from in years. I stared at it for a long minute. Part of me wanted to let it ring out. But the bigger part, the part that had waited almost a decade for this, was curious how low they'd finally go. I answered on the last ring. Silence first, then breathing. Heavy, labored. Courtney. My dad's voice. Weak. Nothing like the commanding tone that used to make me flinch. I didn't respond. Just waited. It's me. And Marissa's here too. A shuffle. Speakerphone clicked on. We've been trying to reach you. Marissa's voice came through next, thick with tears. The business is gone. Foreclosed. We lost the house last month. We're in a trailer park outside Tacoma now. Dad's in the hospital, heart issues, complications from years of stress. The bills? She broke off, sobbed once. They're drowning us. Stephen again, slower. We were wrong. About all of it. The way we treated you, cutting you off. Trying to force you into our plan. We see that now. We're sorry. So sorry. A pause. Expectant. Marissa jumped in. You're doing so well. We've seen the shows, the awards. We're proud, really. If you could just help us get through this. Alone anything for the medical costs. We'll pay it back. We swear. I leaned back in the studio chair, watching rain streak the window. You're proud now. My voice was quiet. Even. Funny timing. Stephen coughed. We know we don't deserve it, but we have nothing left. Marissa again, desperate. Please, Courtney. You're our daughter. Our sister. We're family. I closed my eyes for a second. Saw the lock turning. The stuff hitting the lawn. The silence from the couch. You taught me choices have consequences, I said. Remember, that night you decided my dreams weren't worth supporting. You chose your image, your company, your control. This is what that choice looks like. Marissa sobbed harder. We didn't think. Exactly. You didn't think. And I'm not your way out. Stephen tried one more time, voice breaking. We're begging you. I pulled the phone away, thumb hovering over the red button. I heard you the first 88 times. I ended the call. Block the number. For good this time. The studio went quiet again. Rain tapping the glass. I set the phone face down and rolled back to the console. Opened a new session. Hit record. Because here's the truth they never understood: when you try to kill someone's dream, sometimes it comes back louder, stronger, unstoppable. And if you're the kind of person who locks doors on your own kid, who throws their future onto the lawn because it doesn't fit your plan, don't be surprised when years later that kid builds a life so big you can't even reach the doorbell. The consequences don't always come fast, but they come, and they stay. So if you're watching this and someone's trying to trample your dream right now, family, friends, anyone, remember this story. Don't let them lock you out, because one day you might be the one deciding who gets to knock.